I don't know, McRaven. I know that I've gotten tremendous response from having done that because security clearances are very important to me. Very, very important. And I've had a tremendous response for having done that. There's no silence. If anything, I'm giving him a bigger voice. Many people don't even know who he is, and now he has a bigger voice, and that's okay with me because I like taking on voices like that. I've never respected him. I've never had a lot of respect. And Senator Burr said it best. If you knew anything, why didn't you report it when you were before all of these committees, including their committee? So he had a chance to report. He never did. This was just came up lately, and it's a disgusting thing, frankly. Look, I say it again. That whole situation is a rigged witch hunt. It's a totally rigged deal. They should be looking at the other side. They should be looking at all the people that got fired by them. All of the people that got fired, they should be looking at Bruce Orr and his wife Nellie for dealing with, by the way, indirectly Russians. They should be looking at Steele. They should be looking at all these FBI guys who got fired and demoted. It's a really weird, it's not us. It is a rigged witch hunt. I've said it for a long time.
Mr. Trump decided to take this action, as he's done with others, to try to intimidate and suppress any criticism of him or his administration. And revoking my security clearances is his way of trying to get back at me. But I think I have tried to voice the concerns of millions of Americans about Mr. Trump's failures in terms of fulfilling the responsibilities of that sacred and solemn office of the presidency. And this is not going to deter me at all. I'm going to continue to speak out.
Look, Brennan, I've been nice to you. I told you go play some Scrabble. Go on a cruise. Go do something productive other than being a nosy Mrs. Kravitz in front of the CIA. I've had it. You getting outed, man. And Q outed you some point ago. Wonders why his clearance got pulled. Gee, I don't know. Maybe this tweet might provide a clue. You wrong-headed protectionist policies and antics are damaging our global standing as well as our national interests. Your worldwide view does not represent American ideals to allies and friends. Be patient. Mr. Trump is a temporary abbreviation. The American you once knew will return. No, I don't want the America I once knew. I suffered. I was punished under that America I once knew. I wanted to go to where myself, my girl, and yes, my child will have a future. The future you want, Brennan, I don't want. Let's look at this man's past. Compliments of Check Your Fact. It was claimed that John Brennan once voted for a Communist Party member. Yes, the verdict is true. Brennan voted for a communist presidential candidate as a college student, something he described as an act of rebellion. His act of rebellion is a danger to America. Communism, socialism, Sharia law, none of that don't work here. It just doesn't work here. But it gets better. Hold on. How is this man was able to vote communist in 1976 and somehow entered in the CIA in 1980? Oh, that's right. I forgot who was in cahoots with the CIA back then. That's right. George H.W. Bush. This is crazy, man. He applied in 1980 to join the CIA. He admitted to them that in 1976 presidential election, when Jimmy Carter was running against Gerald Ford, Brennan had voted instead for the candidate for the U.S. Communist Party, Gus Hall, and that he was then greatly relieved to find that this information didn't cause rejection of his CIA application. That in itself is a major national security issue. However, I'm not surprised. Why do you think Brennan was picked to be his CIA director? Simple. Their relationship goes back to the 1980s. It goes way back. It goes all the way back to the time Obama knew that, well, look at this. Compliments of BuzzFeed. Brennan came to the agency in the 1980s as a Middle East specialist who would turn out to be the final decade of the Cold War. The CIA's main focus since its founding. Once inside, Brennan started spending time on counterterrorism, a new subfield that few really understood. the CIA established its first counterterrorism center in 1986. Within 4 years, Brennan was running terrorism analyst for the center. A decade later, the Middle East and counterterrorism, Brennan's two specialties, would be at the center of a revamped CIA, and in time, so would he. To get there, Brennan needed the help of two men, George Tenet and, oh yeah, Barack Obama. Barack Obama and John Brennan have known each other going all the way back into the 80s. There's your evidence, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to tell you how much of a devious man Mr. Brennan is. He likes taking people apart, physically, literally, figuratively. You're about to see a part where Michelle Bachmann does questioning against Mr. Brennan. I'm going to show you what happens afterward. This goes to show that just because he left the CIA does not mean he didn't have closed off connections, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Chair, and welcome Mr. Brennan to the committee. We would thank all of you for being here. I joined Mr. Lobiando. It is really an honor to be able to meet with the intelligence community all over the world, and we thank them for their work. My questions are regarding Iran and obtaining the nuclear weapon. I'd like to ask some questions about that, but before I do that, I'd like to ask a question of Director Brennan. When the White House conducted their armed drone strikes in North Africa, particularly in eastern Libya, prior to the attack on our mission in Benghazi on 9/11 last year, did the White House notify the State Department of the armed drone strikes before they were made?
Armed drone strikes in Libya? I'm unknowing of such, and I would defer to the White House to address your question.
Were there any armed drone strikes in northern Africa that were made by the White House?
White House doesn't have a drone capability, responsibility, whatever. So,
Did they have any directives toward having armed drone strikes in North Africa?
Again, I don't know what it is specifically you're referring to, but again, I would defer to the White House on whatever happened at that time.
Well, I can speak to the capability. The UAVs that were flying over Libya were military and were unarmed.
And so were there any armed drone strikes that were made in North Africa prior to 9/11?
In Libya?
I'm asking in North Africa. I'm asking Director Brennan, were there any armed drone strikes that were made by the United States in North Africa prior to 9/11?
Well, we usually don't talk about any type of specific actions, but I don't know what you could be referencing.
I'm just wondering if the State Department was aware, or if the military was aware, or if the CIA was aware. And if we aren't going to talk about that, we aren't going to talk about that, but that's a question I'd like to know. Going back to Iran, what is our red line regarding the Iranian nuclear weapon development program? And I would ask Director Brennan, what is our red line?
That clearly is a policy question. That's one of the things that the intelligence community is trying to make sure that policymakers are fully informed about developments inside of Iran and their nuclear-related pursuits.
But regarding the nuclear weapon program and our intelligence capability, again, we have a wonderful intelligence community, but we weren't aware of the bombing in 1993 at the World Trade Center Tower. We weren't aware before 9/11 occurred in 2001. We weren't aware of the Arab Spring developments, and we weren't aware of the attack on the mission in Benghazi. How do we have confidence that we will know when Iran has amassed the capability of developing a nuclear weapon? I ask that because the president said last month that it would take approximately a year for Iran to develop a nuclear weapon once they had made that decision. Last week, we know that the current negotiations have gone without any breakthrough or any development. And so I'm very concerned about our intelligence capability of knowing with a high degree of certainty when Iran has either made the decision to develop nuclear weapons or has obtained nuclear weapons.
I think this subject
And I'm asking
much
Director
much
Brennan.
better talked about in closed session.
I would look forward to that, and I'd appreciate that. Could you comment on what is happening with, we talk a lot about uranium development with Iran's nuclear program, but Iran is also building a heavy water reactor capable of producing plutonium. What's the status of Iran's heavy water reactor?
Well, again, this will be a subject for closed session, I think.
I look forward to that. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
You see how he started stonewalling? He was stonewalling because there were just things he didn't want to tell her. I'm going to tell you exactly how things are going to unfold. This poor young lady may have been a victim of a series of unorchestrated political attacks, and this joker is to blame. Give me just a second. It seems all of a sudden things started to go awry for her after 2013. Like, for example, all of a sudden federal election officials wanted to know where the $1 million for her campaign went. Series of investigations. It got to a point her re-election campaign was almost non-existent. She tried to push on. She was under an ethics investigation while she was running for president. This is crazy.
Bachmann ran from reporters' questions about accusations that she made during CPAC about the president's lavish lifestyle. Comments that, by the way, were untrue. The former presidential candidate is now having her own accounts scrutinized. Bachmann's being investigated by the Office of Congressional Ethics over claims that she violated campaign finance rules in 2012. So can you give us some more details here?
Certainly, there is an ethics probe that's ongoing at the moment, and based on those findings, there could be a recommendation to the House Ethics Committee to further investigate the matter, which could, of course, bring this into a much greater spotlight and really impact, her political career. This isn't the first time her campaign has been mired by accusations of wrongdoing in terms of its payments and just campaign finance.
This ain't the first time her campaign has not been riddled with problems. That's what this lady is sort of saying. Hold on, I got more. And for some reason her former aide pleads guilty over campaign misdeeds. With all this going on, you know what happened?
The law limits anyone from serving as president of the United States for more than 8 years. And in my opinion, 8 years is also long enough for an individual to serve as a representative for a specific congressional district.
If Brennan wasn't targeting our politicians, he was targeting our own military personnel. This gentleman was an Army Ranger, and a member of CIA's security team during the 2012 Benghazi ordeal. Hillary had ordered him and his team to keep their mouths shut and go along with the Muslim video story, which is crap. Well, he took a stand. He refused. And he lost his security clearance. Guess who took it? Grumpy old man. See, the only things Brennan knew how to do was force people out, force people to take dirty money, Ukrainian, Russian money, file fraudulent tax returns, and take out fraudulent loans. This coming from a man who voted for a communist and a closet Muslim. Look here, grumpy old man. Take you, your security clearance, and your BS, and there's a damn door. We don't need you. We don't need any of your people either. More of your pals are going to get their clearances pulled. Donald Trump is making sure of that. And if you plot something, you want to get caught, pal. Go take yourself on a cruise, like I told you, and do some shuffleboard. Play some Scrabble. Checkers. I don't care. Your days of snooping with the CIA clearance, over. And in the coming days, folks, we're going to see why it was important to pull his clearance. You'll see. You can like, dislike, comment, share, and subscribe if you like. Push the button notification if you want to see more videos in the future. Be vigilant. We are all in this together. Where we go one, we go all. Thank you for watching.